Oh, we both hit it that time. Anyway, welcome to the Orville Review Show, where we explore the fascinating universe of the Orville. And there goes my green screen. All right, well, there we go. Anyway, I'm your host, Jody Simpson. And of course, I have awesome people with me as always, because I only associate with the finer people in life, as we all know. And of course, there is nobody finer than my co-producer himself, Mr. Dave Mater.
That statement's more full of crap than Bortus's colon.
True. I agree.
And he smells better.
Wow. All right. Well, depends on if it was after that 10K run that he does every morning. But anyway.
6 in the afternoon.
Oh, is it 6 in the afternoon? Okay.
10 in the morning, 6 in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's right.
A man who I absolutely know for a fact will not wake up that early in the morning to do a 6K, and that is, of course, Kevin Millard.
Yeah, no kidding.
That could have been me too, Kevin. Could have been me too.
His commitment to 6Ks is lacking.
Very much so, yes.
Yeah. All right, and of course, the man who we can only enjoy in 3D, that is, of course, Mr. Adam Woodward.
Hello, Jody.
You decided to make it, did you?
I did. It was a
drive.
I'm here.
You're here. That's all that matters. All right. And of course, today we're going to be reviewing season 1, episode 11, which is called New Dimensions. And this is basically the crew of the USS Orville faces an unprecedented challenge when they encounter a bizarre spatial anomaly that leaves the ship stranded in space as they navigate the mysterious two-dimensional realm. That's right. It's 2 dimensions, guys. It's just flat. That's it. There's nothing else going on there. Tensions rise and personnel growth is put to the test. So we have various things happening in this episode. We have Chief Engineer Steve Newton. He's leaving, and they're looking for a replacement. And of course, we have Mercer questioning whether or not he actually is suitable to be the captain of the Orville. So, initial thoughts, guys. What did we think about this episode?
It's okay.
It's okay. All right.
That's my sort of high level.
That's it. Eh? You weren't excited for it or anything?
I'd say that I find the plot with Ed and Kelly a little not super interesting. I get that I think they needed to come around to this kind of revelation, this information that was set up in the early episodes, and it had to happen somewhere along the line. But I wasn't necessarily like moved too much emotionally by it. I was more invested in the Lamar story. But
well, Lamar story is the A story. Like,
yeah,
it's the A storyline.
Yeah,
I think.
I think like visually, I think that the 2-dimensional realm is really interesting and cool, and kind of that was a really kind of neat moment. I also think that those weird alien freighter guys eating the noodles were kind of fun looking and interesting. And but yeah, like overall, like I wouldn't say this is my favorite episode. I don't dislike it. It's just kind of a little bit. All right. It's okay.
All right.
I like it. I find this episode very satisfying because the entire time that Mercer is talking, I'm like, you're being such a whiny bitch. Stop it. You're being such a whiny bitch. And at the end, he says, I've been such a whiny bitch.
Whiny little bitch.
Yeah. He definitely comes into it. Yeah. Adam, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I think that, what are we in now? What episode number?
It's 11.
So, like, Captain Mercer, he's paid his dues. He's already being like given accolades by the Admiralty. He's already being rewarded. Like, settle down there, big guy. Like, you've got your captain's chair. Doesn't matter how you got it. I didn't like that storyline.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of with you guys on that, but I also understand why it's there. Like, when you find that out, when you're already like 10 missions in, I guess, realistically, or at least what we see, I guess in a way I think it was supposed to show how vulnerable he is, because he is very vulnerable. He's not a Picard. He's not the guy who just gets it all done all the time. Like, he has real feelings, and he clearly is bothered by things. So and
Yeah,
I think it's supposed
but
to
he
show how it's
was,
held.
point, he was top of his class out of school, and he was kind of going to get there, one day, not without her help.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? He just, but she felt
The-
bad. I think her explanation is completely.
Oh, absolutely. But I also
the
understand his side as well.
The only thing that makes him unworthy to be captain is his reaction to this news.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. But in a way that is kind of the point of the
No, it is the point of the episode. But
yeah. But it's supposed to be, a new dimension, meaning obviously the 2D dimension, but we also have new dimensions as in, people doing new roles and also questioning the roles that they have. So I guess in a way that works. It's better than the word firestorm. I can tell you that. I still think that was a stupid name, but anyway.
But overall, Jody, I did like this episode. I mean, it was a neat storyline. This is something we haven't seen. This is a new like the whole second or 2-dimensional universe. That was cool.
Well, we've seen the idea of different dimensions, but
we have seen it in Next Gen. Next Gen, they get stuck with two-dimensional like a wake or something. It's not done like this. They don't enter 2D space. This is, I think, better.
This is
how did you guys feel how they actually portrayed the 2D space?
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was cool. Like I wanted to learn more about it. To do it as sort of like a circuit board kind of look was kind of.
It does look kind of like that, yeah. It reminded me of like the intro to like the movie Hackers, like way.
Yeah, I got Tron vibes maybe.
I got Tron vibes too,
for sure. Yeah, Tron.
Right. So,
all right, well, let's get into it, guys. I don't think there's anything more we really need to say here.
It would have been nice if they had explored that a little bit more, though. Like we got all this.
Well,
all
and
they don't
go into
great,
it till like halfway in. Like halfway in the episode is when we actually get to see it. So it's like,
or I'd even like to see an episode in the future where they circle back to 2D space.
Yeah. Well, you never know. Apparently it is now rumored that it's almost all but confirmed that season 4 is happening.
Yeah.
They're going to start shooting it next year. So we probably won't get it until 2026, but
2 more years until, so there will be like 4 seasons in about 10 years almost by that point.
Yeah, because the series started in 2017. So we're
9
talking,
years, I guess.
It's going to be close to 9 years anyway, but you never know. They might express that up quicker.
I guess it's better than nothing, but you gotta love like the new modern streaming television schedules that every 1 to 3 years we'll get a new season.
You'll get a season. Exactly.
Maybe one day we'll get season 2 of Severance.
Maybe
a show that's all about people sitting around in rooms.
It couldn't be that hard to. It couldn't be that hard.
It takes us years to write this show, and even longer to make it. But
anyway, actually, funny you should mention that because I just started that, and I thought there was
it's so good
season.
Severance is amazing. That's why I'm like, I want the new season, and it's been a while.
And I like that actor, even though he's usually in comedy roles, but this is clearly not.
Adam Scott. Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's. I loved him in Parks and Rec. But anyway, all right. Well, let's get moving on. We got some screenshots here, boys. So why don't we just go right through them? So basically, the first we start off at, I guess, a star dock. Like this is a star dock that is either under construction or they're just stopping here for their personnel rotation or whatever. I got the impression that this is still under development, but because
this is for the guy's new job, like the chief engineer.
Well, you get that impression, but it doesn't look like it's incomplete. But we only see part of it, so who knows?
But you just said it was kind of incomplete, wasn't it? Or
it doesn't look incomplete, no. So
okay, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Help design a space station was supposed to be the new job.
Well, yeah, but it looks like it's already been designed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, who knows? But anyway, It is what it is. Oops, hold on here, gentlemen. There we go. All right, so basically the first thing we get is kind of like a buffet thing going on, which we find out is actually the going away party for the chief engineer, Newton. And so basically they're seeing him off, and they do mention that he's going to be designing a space station. So that's why I think that maybe this is just kind of like a break-off point, but I don't know. Who cares, really? I guess it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. But anyway, so they're doing the whole see-off thing, and then we get over to yet another practical joke. that, of course, these guys are doing, which turns out they've taken a piece of Yafid and put it on the buffet, and then I guess somebody has now consumed it. Turns out, we find that out, that Yafid goes to see Claire. Claire is just like, oh God, you're not here for a social thing again, are you? She's still not over the whole, like, being consumed by him thing. But anyway, so he's like, I'm not feeling myself. I feel like I'm missing a piece. A piece of me is missing, which literally it turns out to be the case. And it turns out Bortus has some sort of stomach issue, which is something that normally doesn't happen to his race because of the fact that they have like iron stomachs, basically. Well, we saw in a previous episode he was eating cactuses and various other things, napkins, I think they were eating as well. But anyway, glass, yeah, he was eating glass as well. So anyway, Claire figures out that the piece of Yafid is actually in his tract right now, and Yafid is like, yeah, well, we can do this one of two ways. There's two ways I can get in there.
You will not. I will not allow you to enter me.
Yeah, I will not allow you to enter me, as he says. That was a great line. But anyway, so I guess he decides the mouth is probably the best way to go in. So he opens the mouth, and there's Yafid going in to get the piece, and he really digs in there. Like, he digs in there for a while. Eventually
what is this, a boot?
Yeah. So anyway, but we kind of flash back. We flash off of that after he recovers this thing, and they're now being reprimanded for this because apparently, that Kelly doesn't believe that this was a very good use of time.
I love that she asked them here, did it even dawn on you that Yaphet would be upset? And they were just like, no.
One's no, and the other one's like, yeah.
Lamar says maybe, and Gordon says no.
Yeah,
definitely not.
So anyway, she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna reprimand you both, put it on your file, blah blah blah, get out of here, kind of thing. And then as she's looking through Lamar's file, she comes across something which we don't know yet, but it turns out he's got quite the ingeniousness going on with him. So anyway, we kind of get the background shot of that.
So didn't this bug you guys? Like I feel like Riker would know all his crew.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it depends on where this information lies. Like,
well, clearly on the front page.
It's his file.
It looks like that, yeah. So yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
First time she's opening his file.
Yeah, she's like, oh.
So my bridge crew,
out his first
officer. She schedules everything, but she hasn't looked at the records of her bridge crew. I found that a little bit.
Well, she says that it was a scoring thing that I guess they didn't look at before. It was some sort of like scoring.
He does say, like, it's in my file. Anybody can look it up. It's all.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe it's not directly there. Like, you have to kind of dig for it a bit, and maybe they missed it somehow.
Maybe it's on page 2.
Maybe it's on page 2. Yeah, maybe she just like glanced over the summary and that was it, kind of thing. She's got a lot of crew to worry about, so maybe that makes sense. I don't know. Anyway, we get our title card, New Dimensions, and at this point, Kelly goes into Mercer to basically say, hey, I know that we have this. He's leaving and we need a new chief engineer. Maybe we should have Lamar. And he's just like, what? And then all of a sudden the whole place starts shaking. And then these two are on top of each other because I guess that's for comedy or something. I don't know. But anyway,
it was unnecessary.
It was completely unnecessary.
Are they're meant to get back together one day? Is that what we're?
Well, they flirt with that.
Not.
Yeah,
you hope not.
I hope not.
Because I feel like that's where it's been going for
even
into the later seasons. Like, these two are meant to get back together.
Okay, so Kevin, you haven't actually seen further, right? Or have you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, so then you know what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, they don't actually really get together per se. Like, they try it out again, I guess, but they don't really.
Yeah, they haven't fully gone. But with the new season coming, I could see that being.
Yeah, you never know. There might be something that might happen, or they might just keep it the way it is. Because I like the dynamic of the two of them without the romantic part. But I guess we'll see what's going on.
Oh, they're gonna mess it up like Mulder and Scully.
Yeah, that really is when X-Files went downhill.
Like Janeway and Chakotay.
Yes.
Chakotay being on the ship was probably the thing that killed Voyager. But anyway, at least that's my opinion.
Coochie moya.
Yeah, fuck your coochie moya. But anyway, so they end up hitting this what turns out to be a spatial anomaly. But they hit it and get out of warp. It turns out it screwed up their engines. So at this point, they're kind of like, what the hell's going on? So then Isaac fills them in, kind of thing. And they have to refix things. So Kelly's like, I want John to go with Isaac to go fix this problem and figure out what's going on. And he's just like, he's even more dumbfounded than anybody else is. He's like,
I love that everybody is, including him. It's like, what the fuck?
What? Well, I wonder if he's allowed to have drinks in engineering. I guess that might play a big.
He can do whatever he wants now.
I guess so. Yeah.
No one's gonna watch him.
Even knock off early and get wasted.
Yeah. So anyway, Isaac and him start heading down, and they run into the kids, and Isaac still does the whole,
this is my favorite, one of my favorite lines with Isaac, where he like, can we help? And he's like, no, because you're small and lack the necessary intelligence.
Yeah. Because you are small and feeble and you lack the necessary intelligence.
Yeah, between Bortus and Isaac, I think they get most of the really good lines. But anyway, so they're like, okay, yeah, you can come, but you can just watch, kind of thing. And it turns out that Yosef is what's his name? Yaphet. Yaphet is already in there, and they're discussing some things. So he's like, yeah, I'm here. And then all of a sudden they look over and they see that the plant, because they're in one of the rooms that was on the side that hit the spatial anomaly, but nobody was in there. But it turns out the plants have died, which we find out later why. But the plants have died. Now my question to you is this. What about everything else in this room? Like, for instance,
the room is organic, is it? Or
well, I guess it's only organic.
But the light shouldn't work because the engines don't work after being in the.
Well, yeah,
they have a power supply though that isn't the engines.
That was kind of the thing, was when you see the alien ship, like they go through that anomaly and they get pancaked, but when they come out, I don't know, everything kind of goes back, except for the person's dead, but
Well, they explain that the reason being is because the proteins in the cells go nuts, essentially.
Yeah, and so maybe the flattening does more to the engines than it does to a light, or I don't know.
Maybe.
I guess. Yeah.
I guess because that's what they say when that other one goes through, is that they're dead, like the engines are dead, but you do see that it's still got lights and whatnot.
Yeah. Some things work.
I guess it doesn't affect batteries, even though batteries generally are somewhat organic, depending on the battery. But anyway, so they're now discussing what's going on, blah blah blah. He's like, yeah, it's a spatial anomaly kind of thing, and he's like, blah blah blah, it seems to be is at this point, I think they now know that it's a 2D type environment.
They think it might. They're trying to figure out what it is.
Speculating it, right?
I don't even know if they know it's a doorway yet. At this point, they're still investigating it.
Yeah. So anyway, so she ends up going back and talking to Mercer again after this meeting. And is this when she decides she wants to put him in the race, or she wants to put him on? This is where
she's pushing John again, and he's leaning towards Yaphet to give the job.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's already confirmed that he wants to give Yaphet the job, and then she's like, "Well, can I put him on the task force to figure out what's going on?" kind of thing.
And by the end of this conversation, this is where she says, if you didn't trust my instincts, you wouldn't have your job or whatever.
Yes, and this is what starts our B storyline, which is Mercer being a whiny bitch. But which he does play very well.
He does well, and I don't blame him for the initial shock of it. It's just the fact that it runs that long. It runs for the whole episode, and they have several conversations about it. It gets tiring.
Like, I can understand him getting pissed.
What I found shocking is that he actually called the admiral.
Yes, that's what I was about to mention. I'm like, he literally calls the admiral like right here.
I don't think you should have promoted me because I didn't get it on my own. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's like, why are you calling him? Like, nothing instills, a sense of,
doubt when you
more than that.
Yeah. Hey, boss, I don't know if I'm the great guy for the job. Like, now that
I'm not as good as you think I am.
But even after talking to this admiral says to him, you've
earned it.
Like, you've exceeded our expectations. You're doing great. We're like, you're awesome. You're great. and he hangs up, and he's still like, I don't know if I can
Yeah,
do
like
this anymore.
at this point, this should have been kind of where this storyline just ended.
Yeah.
Like
It should have been.
we
Yeah,
didn't need it.
But yeah, he says everyone believes in you. He goes, everybody but myself. Wow.
They should have cut all of the scenes
Yeah.
after this that have anything to do with this. It gave us more scenes in 2D space. I think that would have been better. But anyway, what can you do? So
or more with Lamar. It's a much
more interesting.
better, more interesting. Yeah.
Well, and essentially most of the episode is Lamar, let's be honest. But anyway, so at this point I think they've now figured out that the krill are on the way or something.
Oh, this is where they want to get the cat, or Gordon talks
Oh,
about
yes,
cat.
he talks about how he's going to get a cat. That's right.
It's like, let's get a cat for the bridge, and he's
so that he pets him.
Yeah, pets him.
Yeah, he's like companionship, and then he starts petting him.
I didn't think Isaac petting Gordon was all that funny, but I thought
No, it was the obvious joke.
odd.
You knew that was going to
You knew it was
happen
happening.
before.
Are we bonding now? I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Are we
but, like,
bonding? Yeah.
I liked more the conversation about the absurdity of getting a cat, and I was like, I just wanted like Ed or the first officer to come in and go, "This is dumb," you know, like you guys.
Yeah,
are not
like
getting a cat.
why do you need a cat on the bridge? Like, come on. So anyway,
What I like about this is that they really call out how boring it is on the bridge. It must be for hours and hours at a time. Nothing happens.
If you compare this to like Star Trek, where like literally whenever we see the bridge, something's happening. Like whether it's a conversation about the mission or something going on. And half the time these guys are just talking about random crap that like they're just trying to pass the time, I guess.
Oh, there's a meteor.
So, but anyway, well, they can't all be ice comets, I guess. But anyway, so Kelly asked for him to show up at her thing. He thinks he's in trouble. He gets sit down, and she's just like, "So, you're like a super genius. What the fuck?" And he's like, "Well, I grew up in an environment where that was kind of frowned upon. Like I come from a worker."
He explains that to Ed later on, but in this conversation,
that's right. He doesn't actually do it in this.
In this conversation, he's like, "It's in my file. Like you've known me for almost a year.
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
I don't know.
I know how to read. Like, come on." So, but anyway, so Kelly's just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have you run that with all the other guys from engineering. You're gonna go run that, and blah blah blah." So anyway, they obviously now have a fill-in for him there. But I think this is when they see the I guess these are kind of pirate traders.
They're called the Horbalok.
Horbalok, yes, yeah.
Yeah, they're like pirates or like just kind of.
And they clearly do not. And that's another thing I kind of like about this show is literally nobody trusts the Union. Like every time they talk to somebody, they're like, "Oh, Union. Oh, we're not talking to them." Or if they do talk to them, they're like, "We're not interested in listening to them at all." It's like, which is essentially what this guy does. Now, again, I say it every episode. Alien makeup is amazing in this show. I can't remember the actor who's behind this, but his voice. Like it's
well, the character is called Blavarock, which is like Blavarock.
Who played him though? I think it's the same guy that was in like
Paul Voight.
Paul Voight. Oh, maybe it isn't the same person that I thought.
Yeah, like
I thought it was the guy from The Princess Bride.
John Wallace.
Yeah, that's who I thought it was. But
this is Paul Voight. He's never done anything I've ever heard of.
Really? Okay. He sounds a lot like the guy from Princess Bride. So maybe that's what he was basing it on. But either way, pretty cool. I like the fact that literally as he's taking communications, he's like eating his noodles. He doesn't like.
He's so gross, and like I think even Gordon says, "I hate these guys." Like every time I read it,
these guys. Yeah. So, but anyway, so he basically says, you're on the path.
There's no anomaly. Screw off.
There's somebody, and he's like, "My sensors don't show an anomaly." Blah 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 blah. And he's like, "Okay, fine." And they're like, "Yeah, no, you're about to hit it. You're gonna hit it." And sure enough, that's what happens. But I like the effect that they had of literally the ship just squeezing into like a piece of paper, essentially.
Yeah.
And then when they come back out, it does the same thing, but in reverse. It comes out of the paper, basically. But as it comes out, they're like, there's like
no life signs.
There's no life signs at all on the ship now, but there is electricity still. So he's like, "Okay, well, let's take a shuttle over there and we'll figure out what's going on." So he's like, "Okay." Obviously he takes his normal crew, but for some strange reason, this ship does not have the rule where the first officer and the captain do not go on away missions at the same time. But this one just defeats that because Kelly is generally always there with Mercer. So, but anyway, so they end up docking with the ship. They walk around the ship a little bit, and they end up finding Noodle Boy, who the noodles are still there, which I thought was pretty impressive as well.
So is he.
And so is he, but he now has a bleeding nose, and he's got a bad case of the dead. You know,
the protein molecules, the proteins in his cells couldn't live with.
They couldn't reanimate back to where they were supposed to be. Yeah, so
this kills you.
So anyway, they're like, yeah, no, he's this guy's really dead. And then Alara shows up with the big huge thing that she's carrying. And it turns out that these are Krill weapons that they're transporting, which I'm sure they've stolen from somebody, probably the Krill.
Right.
And turns out that the Krill are on their way, I guess, essentially. So they have this little interaction where he's like, I can't believe, you didn't tell me this, and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, how many times are you going to hold this over my head, kind of thing. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, she's like, can we talk? And then he kind of he blows up at her here.
Yeah, he blows up in the hallway. And then he walks off, and as he walks off, he runs into the guy that he never knows his name.
He never knows his name, but he's in charge of watering the plants.
He's the guy who waters the plants. Yeah, the lizard-looking guy who waters the plants.
Hey, you.
He's like, hey, it's you.
Hey, it's you.
Yeah.
Come on, we all have somebody.
There he is. That's what he said. There he is.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah. So anyway, he goes to walk into his office, and Yafid's there. He's like, how did you get in here? And he's like, I'm gelatinous.
Right.
Which I guess means that those doors don't seal very well, I guess. Or maybe he went through a duct or something.
He can get around those kinds of things.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, he's like, what's going on? And he's like, I should be the guy that's going to be the chief engineer, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, Kelly wants me to try him out, and we'll see what's going on, and blah, blah, blah. And Yaffa gets obviously pissed off about this.
He says he's racist against gelatinous.
Oh, yeah, he's racist against gelatinous forms and beings. I wonder how many times they have to pay the Muppets for having Kermit in those scenes.
Not anymore, since Disney owns this. So
yeah, but does Disney own this now too?
Yeah.
Because Fox owned it originally,
right?
Yeah,
but Disney owns Fox.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Disney owns Fox now. Yeah. But anyway, and I saw Deadpool 3, so I should know that. But anyway, spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen that. But anyway, yeah. So basically, he's like, well, we're just trying him out. He's gonna run the team there, and we're gonna try to figure out what's going on here. And Yafid's just not having any of it. So then we see, engineering being all busy, and we see literally Lamar back and forth. Pacing. Doesn't want to go into the room. He's just pacing back and forth. And he's like, what? How am I going to get in there? Blah, blah, blah. And he's questioning himself. And then, of course, Gordon happens to be walking by. He's like, hey, let's go get a drink. And he's like, no, I can't. I got to run this thing here. And he's like, well, just go in there. Don't be,
do the gumdrop thing.
Go get gumdrops or something. And so he brings gumdrops
as an icebreaker.
Yeah. And everybody only gets one, though, which I thought was kind of selfish. But he gives out all the gumdrops to everybody. And then at that point, he's like, does he take them back?
No.
Yeah, he does eventually.
He does eventually, but I like the little story. I like woodworking.
Oh, yeah, that's this guy. Yeah. Jeff.
Yeah.
This is Jeff, right?
Is that his name?
What's his name? Jeff? Dan?
Dan.
He's got a very normal name.
Dan.
Is it Dan? Okay. Yeah. So Dan's like, I'm really into this.
I don't know where the wood begins and I end.
Yeah, and I guess that's interesting, but also not.
Yeah. So anyway, they're all.
Oh, this is my favorite part. So yeah, he eventually takes away the gumdrops, and he says, "Get back to work." Because Yafit kind of criticizes the whole thing.
Yeah, Yafit's being an ass, which I guess kind of be rightfully so in some scenarios, but
right. He's like, we should be actually doing work, not eating gumdrops. And this is my favorite part where Isaac goes, why did she put you in charge? Why did Commander Grayson put you in charge? And he goes, because she thinks I'm smart. He's like, I'd be happy to inform her that you're not. That was my favorite.
Some of the dialogue in this show just gets me every time. But anyway, he figures out that between the two of them, they figure out that this anomaly that they're going into is actually just a 2D plane. It doesn't have 3D properties. So it only has 2 axes instead of 3. So he basically, the two of them take those findings to the rest of the crew. And they're like, well, what can we do here? Blah, blah, blah. And at this point, they now know the krill are on the way, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they know that the krill are on the way. So they're trying to get the engines up and running. And then it turns out that the krill are getting there quicker. So they have to come up with a solution. And I can't remember what Yafid's whining about here, but he was whining about something. Was he still complaining about working? Can't remember. All right. Well, anyway. I don't remember.
No.
That's the problem.
I know the krill are, like, they know the krill are coming fast here.
Yeah, they know they're fast and they're trying to figure out what to do. Yeah, because
Yafit comes up with a plan for like the field that's a bit unconventional, right. and Lamar agrees to it.
Yeah, they're doing like a warp bubble that basically stops them from being consumed by the 2D realm, I guess, or affected by it. Right. So anyway, Yafit starts getting on it. They end up putting up this kind of barrier shield thing, and then they go into it. They just go straight into it, and then the krill just show up literally at that point. But the krill are like, where the hell are they? Right.
So they're kind of like, hiding inside of it. The krill don't know about the anomaly, and
which is odd because the krill, from what we can tell, the krill are more advanced because we've seen them over and over again do things that, the Union can't do.
True, but I mean, they really just bumped into this anomaly.
True. Yeah.
They wouldn't know it exists if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, so we got, they're like, oh shit, we're in here. And it's like, and then they show you this, which is actually really cool, I think.
Yeah.
Very, very neat to look at anyway. I love the external shots. The external shots look great. There's so many layers there as well. Like, it's a 2D plane, but there's a lot of layers to it, which I thought was kind of neat as well. So anyway, but they're like, yeah, no, we, as long as we're in this, we won't be affected. We can kind of stay in here for a little while, and then when the krill leave, we'll come back out again. So anyway, they're like, wow, this is, they're talking about this 2D space, and they're like, this is amazing, blah, blah, blah. It's very beautiful, all that. Can't remember why I took the screenshot. He was saying something, but I totally forgot what he was saying now. I'm really terrible at review shows, really. Like, I don't know why I'm running.
You're doing great, Jody. We're getting there.
But anyway, I like the shots though. There's a lot of really cool, and I like how they flip between the two.
Yeah, half the ship's sort of below the 2-dimensional, and half of it's above, and
it's also echoing itself, which I thought was really neat. But anyway, so we see Ed, and he's like going through some of his notes and stuff, and here's another Kelly trying to make nice with him again, because this seems to happen at least twice an episode now. But anyway, so the two of them are talking about it, and she's like, I just want to let you know, like, this is, you got here for you, you didn't get here because of me. I might have helped you out. And she makes a good point that, like, sometimes we don't even know people are helping us, right? So
yeah,
and then he says, this is the worst apology ever.
Yeah,
this is already the worst apology ever. Yeah, like, that was a good line. But yeah, where she was like, you're being an asshole, or you're being, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Nosebleed City.
Apparently I'm the second best according to Sam. I don't know in relation to what, but apparently I'm the second best. But anyway,
Dave's the best. Dave is the best. Dave is
the best. Okay. Well,
no, I defer to Jody.
I agree to that though. But anyway, so the ship ends up starting to do its little wiggle jiggle thing again, which turns out that the warp field that they have is definitely not helping the situation.
I did feel like the stakes of this were pretty good, because we knew that this thing's fatal and that they were kind of on the edge.
They could literally be crushed. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and we even see during like this scene, like the top thruster is now being crushed down into a 2D plane.
Right.
Which I thought was kind of
neat. Which I think was good, because like, even though this place is beautiful and amazing, but it's also incredibly like lethal and dangerous, and
lethal to any 3D organism. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Was that whole thing? Oh, I think that thing you showed that you forgot what he was saying, was he was like, could there be 4 or 5-dimensional beings observing us?
That's right.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Could they see what was like under the sheets, or in the sleeve of a down coat?
The sleeve of a down coat. I'm just like, what? But yeah, anyway, basically, Gordon's mostly concerned about his masturbation habits more than anything, which rightfully so, I guess. It sounds like he does a lot of it. But anyway, so at this point, we get the wavy effect here for a little while. And then the ship starts,
Isaac saves their ass, actually.
Yeah,
he gets to the console.
Yeah, Isaac gets
He's
the
a little
console
less
and figures
affected
out.
by it.
Yeah. So he gets the console and turns it back on. And they kind of justify themselves. But everybody has a bleeding nose now, which I thought was kind of funny. And they're just
That was most unpleasant.
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody's nose blooded. And then you see Bortus in the background.
Is the guy who plays Bortus, Peter Macon, is he from Stargate?
Oh, you think he's the guy that has the thing on his head?
Yeah, the guy was.
No.
Is he the guy? No, he's not the same guy.
I don't think he is.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. He definitely sounds like in Met Times, though.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's not where they got him.
Yeah. But anyway, so here they are again. I loved this little pan around shot that they did. So they panned around from the one side of the 2D plane to the other side, so we could see the other part, which I thought was kind of cool. But anyway, so yeah, this is where Bortus says it was very unpleasant when they're talking about. Yeah, it was most unpleasant. Oh, and then it's Dan, right? So Dan's did somebody say pancakes? And they're like, no.
That was one of the other things that was interesting about him is he loves brunch.
Yeah, he loves brunch. Yeah. There's some good character development right there. Dan is probably the best character on the show now. But anyway, so they're trying to figure out what they can do because they have no engines and this field is getting very unstable. And they got to get the hell out of here. And on top of that, the opening that they came in is now closed because we all know wormholes are a problem as well. Right. So anyway, but they figure out that I think it was like 6,000 kilometers or something like that. There was another opening that they passed. So they're going to try to get out from there.
Yeah, they don't even know if it will work.
Yeah, so they come up with an idea of grabbing a shuttle, extending the shield out to the shuttle. And they're putting they're putting the shield inside the shuttle, and then they extend it out for the tractor beam. Yeah.
Use the tractor beam.
Yeah, and they use the tractor beam, and they're going to pull basically the ship with the shuttle, and they decide the two people that are qualified to do this are going to be Lamar and in this case Mercer. So they're gonna the two of them are going to go and do it.
Mercer feels like he has to do it.
He has to do it because
prove himself
to Kelly or somebody else. I don't know.
It's dumb. I agree.
It is kind of dumb. Yeah. Yeah, I can think of at least 10 other people that you could have had on there that would have made more sense.
Yeah, and then we see that this bitchy engineering team is all making fun of Yafet's thing or whatever. Like,
the two of them are like, yeah, well, if we wouldn't even be in this situation if it wasn't for you, blah blah blah. And then Lamar steps up and he actually shows his leadership here, where he's like, shut your damn mouth. Yafet, I was the one who said let's go with Yafet's plan.
I'm the one who agreed to his plan, so
it's that's on me. So anyway, they decide they're going to do it. They go to Red Alert, which this is their version of Red Alert.
They actually say Red Alert too, which
they did say Red Alert.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by it. I was like, did they? I guess they said Yellow Alert in the past, but this is the first time they've said Red Alert.
Yeah, I do like when the Red Alert happens though, because they have this spinning red thing around the observation glass up at the top that goes around, which I think is kind of neat. But anyway. Aesthetic. But anyway, so they're monitoring this. Mercer and John are getting ready to go out. They go out. I do like the effect here.
Yeah,
the ship
cool.
goes out into the 2D. All of a sudden, it turns into this like pancake.
Yes, all these effects are great. However, missed opportunity here to have the inside of the shuttle on the outside of the ship because they're still in a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
So to have them just sitting in chairs sort of on the ship.
Oh, I see.
You mean like on top of it?
Yeah.
That would be kind of neat. Yeah. Well,
you're right.
Maybe the budget didn't constrain or they.
Well, yeah, I think you could imagine something like kind of neat in that sense. Yeah. But,
yeah. Either way, though, I thought that was still kind of neat.
Oh, it's still really cool. All of this is still a really cool effect.
Yeah. But I love how he goes as we're going into John's like as we're going into this transition, you might feel a little upset. Blah 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 and all this, and you might end up throwing up or something, and then the next scene is John throwing up like nuts, and Mercer's just like, "You okay?" Like,
you crack a window.
Yeah, and I love how he keeps putting up his finger. He's like, one more minute. I'm just still throwing up. So it's like, that was pretty good, I thought. But anyway, they end up, putting this little like tunnel thing in so they can do the tractor beam to pull it. And they start pulling it, and it works, I guess. But they certainly run into problems with it, as in their barrier starts to break down. So they were getting squished a bit too. But anyway, they're getting pulled through, and they're trying their best to get through it. They finally stabilize it. They come back, and of course, both of them have nosebleeds now. But anyway, so they basically go through it, and they finally breach the opening, and they come out. And so then they're like, okay, well, let's we lost Dave. I never even noticed that. Sorry, Dave. Didn't notice we lost you.
There's a button on my mouse that goes back on the browser.
That'll do it. But anyway, so yeah, they're now out of it, and then they're messaging to see if the shuttle survived. And we see the two of them, and they got like rags hanging out of their noses, and then Lamar says, when we get back, we're gonna need somebody to come and clean this all up, and it's a bit messy and all that. They're like, yeah, no problem. When we see you, we'll do that. So anyway, we get now a scene where Mercer comes back, and this is where he does his puppy dog. I'm sorry, I was being dumb, and I'm a big whiner. Basically. Thing.
Whiny little bitch, I believe.
I think that really sums it up right there. That screenshot. But anyway, she's like, yeah, that's fine. And then he gives her a kiss on the cheek.
It's not the feather, Dumbo. It's you.
Yeah, it's not the feather, Dumbo. It's you. Yeah, which I thought was a pretty funny line. For that. And then we see Lamar, and this is presuming his first day as being the chief engineer now. He walks in, and he's like, so how about we get this efficiency up to like 97%, and then we can all go get wasted. And everybody's like, yeah, sounds like a great plan. He's like, all right, let's do it then.
He's also got the stripe now. He's lieutenant commander.
Yeah, he's got the stripe now. Yeah. He's lieutenant commander, as he says. And that's the end of the episode. So we get a lot of character development, I think, in this one.
Yeah, John's character, I think, kind of needed this episode a lot because there wasn't a lot to his character.
It did make a lot of sense to have the two of them where they were, right? Because you had both of them who were both kind of doing the same job anyway, so it didn't make much sense for him.
Only makes like for comedic sense for them to play off each other, but in terms of like having, I guess, two main characters like at the front.
But if we had to have 3 seasons of those two sitting beside each other making jokes, it would eventually get pretty old, I think.
Maybe.
So,
yeah.
I think it's nice to have him in a different position. Plus, that also gives them a chance. And then in the 3rd season, we actually get a main character that sits beside what's his name? John, or not John? No, the other one.
Yeah, the other guy, Gordon.
Gordon. Yeah. So Gordon, which is Charlie, but we don't see her until the 3rd season. But anyway, so that's the episode, guys. I thought it was all right.
It's pretty good.
But you know what? There's always something that's more fun than the episode, and that, of course, is
the facts.
Fun facts with Adam. All right, Adam. Whoop, that's not Adam. That's Adam. There he is.
All right, let's go.
Let's do it.
Okay. So through New Dimensions, network ratings were on par for the season 1 average. The reception from the general audience and professional critics was strongly positive. And the episode is now one of the highest rating of the show, praised for its strong characters and original plot. So how do you like that?
How do you like them apples?
That's right. I do think it's original, but hey.
It's original enough. But yeah, I think Kevin's right. There is a couple times where we've witnessed something like this before. Might not be exactly the same thing.
I can only think of the one, but this is totally different. Like, it's the same premise, but totally different episode.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, so Dave just made a comment about John, but this episode is unique in the fact that McFarlane stated on the record that New Dimensions was written just to give John something more to do.
I think that's good.
Yeah. So you have he said, he basically said this, you have a helmsman and a navigator side by side. We made this whole deal about Gordon thing being the best pilot in the fleet. And there's John sitting next to him. There's a bit of a sacrifice. Sorry, guys, just waiting for the dog to stop barking.
That's all right.
because they're so good together. But you can no longer no longer have them sitting next to each other. But what we gain is an identity for the character that we ended up with. It gives us a story. A gives us a story, and B gives us an anchor to this rogues gallery down in engineering. So,
well, yeah, and like I think like they kind of, I wouldn't call this like a complete copy, but when like they made Geordie LaForge the chief engineer, they kind of had similar motivations. You know, that they needed a chief engineer. Flying the Enterprise most of the time, pretty simple. You know, engage and you hit a button, right? So you don't need
you plot a course and hit a button. Yeah. There's not a lot to it.
No.
Yeah. The generally accepted interpretation of New Dimensions that explores the meaning of self-reliance and personal development, building off of the earlier episode Command Performance and Firestorm, which explored similar themes.
Stupid name.
Yeah. John Lamar's childhood on the Luddite farming community taught him to hide his intelligence, but also crafted him to an unambitious young man who doubts his own ability. Ed Mercer experiences the same crisis as he learns that he attained captaincy only through the advocacy of Kelly's help on that. So Ed questions his own judgment and place in society and whether he truly deserved the promotion, while Kelly stands as the counterweight and trying to help them both. So she's actually the strong one out of the three.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The viewership, New Dimensions was well received by TV audiences, as I just said, and enjoys an 8.2 rating on IMDb. It was watched by 3.6 million viewers in the U.S. on the night it aired.
I don't mean to
it's down to 7.9 now,
but it's down to 7.9.
Well, that one probably was a few years ago. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
It's okay. Fake news.
Fake news, guys. Fake news.
At the start of the episode, the Orville is docked within Newton's unidentified space station. Despite many references to many space stations and outposts in the Planetary Union, this is the first time we've seen a Union dockyard since Old Wounds.
Since the first episode, yeah.
Yeah, because the first episode is in it.
To explain how the Orville will preserve its three-dimensional space when flattened in a two-dimensional space, the crew references the TARDIS of Doctor Who, bigger than the inside, Oscar Grouch's trash can from Sesame Street, and Snoopy's doghouse from Charlie Brown.
I didn't understand all those references, but I was good with the Doctor Who one.
Well, they're all bigger on the inside.
Because I hate Snoopy and the Peanuts, and they can all go to hell.
We could talk about that sometime because I'm with you on that.
That's a hot take right there.
Like
you heard me. Charlie Brown can take a walk
of all time. Like honestly,
yeah. Oh, I'm not a fan myself either.
I'm not a fan either, but
I claim no relation.
I understand why people like it, but not for me. I certainly don't have the hatred that Dave does, though.
Well,
okay. Ed tells Kelly about a book called Flatland, a story set in a two-dimensional world. After Kelly calls him a prideful ass, he asks if they're in a Jane Austen novel. I thought that was funny too.
Yeah, the circles have all the respect.
Yeah, and I think that wraps it up for me. Hold on, let's check if there's anything good here on this other one. Yep,
We're
that's
all anticipating things here.
There's nothing big here. Yeah, as in Next Generation, the ship's navigator becomes the chief engineer. You guys called it. And there you go.
All right. Well, thank you, Adam.
There we go. All right. Well, shall we get our ratings going on here, guys?
Well, if Sam's still there, I'd like to know who the best is. I'm still waiting to know that.
Well,
he said Ted's the greatest of all time. He's the GOAT.
Oh, Ted's the GOAT. All right.
How is Ted? Is he okay?
We think so.
Good.
We think so. All right, gentlemen. New Dimensions. I think we're going to wait on me. So, Adam, what are you giving it?
I'm going to stay at around. I'll stay at 8. I'm just the 8 man right now.
You're just about the 8s, eh?
Yeah,
exactly. All right, Dave.
6.5.
Oh,
6.5. Wow.
Dave's hurt on this show.
You know what? He's back and forth with this show. So
I think I like this a bit more than last week, so I'm going to give this an 8.5.
8.5. All right, we don't have Murphy, but I'm sure Murphy didn't like it.
It didn't have a lot of Bortus in it, so he might like it.
Oh, maybe, yeah. For me, I liked it more than last week. I wouldn't say I liked it that much more though. I gotta give it an 8.2. Just to be consistent. So then that obviously puts it at a 7.8. All right, there you go. So we're pretty much spot on with IMDb.
Yeah.
Which usually we are fairly close, but there is the
sometimes
couple of
not.
anomalies.
But yeah, there's
Like
about
Priya
3,000
was
votes.
quite an
on
anomaly.
IMDb.
Oh,
Yeah. So Jody, what comes after this episode?
Oh well, I knew you were going to ask me that, Dave. And next week's episode is Mad. Now I'm going to screw up the name, so it's Mad Idolatry.
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 Yeah. The crew crash lands on a planet from another universe. Ed and Kelly consider getting back together. So, and that'll be the season finale as well. And it's also, I think, the highest rated episode.
This is the season finale?
Yep.
This is the season finale.
Yep.
Yeah, because there was only 12 episodes in the first season.
Oh.
There's even less in the second season, I think. Yeah, well, this was always more of a mini series.
It's weird because like these episodes feel like, a TNG episode would be paced, like compared to like when we watch some of these newer shows like Discovery where they're just go for like 10 episodes and then it's like a huge climax and they've saved the entire everything ever. And I like that this is kind of like, it was a finale and not that much has happened, but some cool things happen as well. It's something that I appreciate it. What I'm trying to say.
I like that it doesn't overstay its welcome. I think that's probably the main thing for me. Like I find a lot of like I'm currently going through a lot of old series now and like rewatching them, and sometimes it's a slug to get through like 26 episodes in a season. Like you're like, wow, they're talking about something they talked about 2 episodes ago again, and all that.
Hey, remember when we talked about that thing? Like,
and it's just it turns into such a sloggy affair. Overall, I think it's a decent. I would like to see maybe like a 16 episode season. I think that would be good for the show. But
a few more. I think that this is the kind of show I think it would benefit from more. But I get every episode is a lot of production.
But they also they spend a lot on this show. Like when you especially look at all the CG and stuff like that. Like I would imagine the episode cost is pretty high for these. So just like Discovery and stuff like that. Like all those cost a fortune to run.
Just like, hey, Severance, people in rooms talking, and it takes years.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But anyway, so that wraps it up for this. But we have other things going on. Dave, yes, I think you got something going on tomorrow. What do you got going on?
Yeah, tomorrow, every Tuesday night, we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation episodes. Tomorrow, we're talking about the episode Data Lore, which was the introduce of the Lore android, the brother of Data. And we got that coming up, tomorrow here on the show. I'm trying to Adam, are you on the panel? I'm trying to recall who's the panel.
I think I am. I better check that.
I think you are because you're filling in for somebody else, aren't you? Oh no, that was last
week. Yes, Adam. And Heather negotiated her way onto this. Oh no, she couldn't do it.
Heather's not on tomorrow.
Tomorrow it's Adam, Chris Murphy, and Jeff Mader.
Oh, there you go. The all-star team.
I
don't even know the next time I'm scheduled for that show.
Oh, probably soon. I don't know. There's a lot more episodes on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh yes, I will definitely be back.
You'll be back. So after Data Lore, we're doing Angel 1, which you're not on. That will be Jaemeel, Jane, and Heather.
That's a terrible.
But you are signed up for 110010.
Oh, the Binars. I love the Binar episode,
which is in 2 weeks. So
yeah. All right. Well,
and Kevin is I don't have Kevin on the roster right now.
Kevin's like, screw you, I'm not doing any.
I think I was going to do conspiracy.
You're so we'll talk to you.
Am I on conspiracy? I hope I'm on conspiracy.
You are, yeah. You and Davin and Kevin.
I love that. Oh, I can't wait to see how bad Davin's.
So, but that's another 10 weeks away. So
yeah, well, we'll probably be done the second season of this show by the time.
We might be able to get to the end of season 2, but by the time we get to the end of season 1 of this.
Yeah. Well, I think there's only 10 episodes of the second season of this show, or 12 maybe. But anyway. So
Well,
that's
there's
about it.
usually a chance somewhere to sub in. Maybe you'll see me before.
I'm sure.
Oh, I know. I have vacancies.
right.
Haven right now.
Oh, you should be on that one, Kevin.
Oh no, and we already did Haven. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh.
I have
yeah, you
Coming
did.
of Age. We got Heart of Glory coming up.
Heart of Glory.
Even the death of Tasha Yar, Symbiosis is open right now.
That's a terrible episode.
Seriously? Nobody? I'll do that. Sure.
You're signed up.
Who else is on it?
Jaemeel and Adam.
Did you say Symbiosis? The one where she dyes the skin of evil.
You're right, but
Yeah,
now you're
she
signed
was
up for Symbiosis too. Um,
There you go. Anyway.
Okay,
All right.
good.
Well, I'm sure we can figure this out off air. I don't think we need to bore
no,
anybody
people
with this.
they're taking the notes. Like
They are. They're all just like, oh, I can't wait to see Kevin again, which is
Yeah.
probably true.
I need to know
Who
when he's on.
can't wait to see Kevin again? Come
It's
Is
on.
he on the dais or not?
It's true. Anyway. All right, gentlemen. Well, if there's nothing else to say, I think we'll call it quits on this episode. And but the good news is we have other things on this channel, and we're
United
about to find out
Federation
what
of
they are.
Podcasts.
The whole United Federation. But anyway, live long and podcast.
See you next time.
All right. Bye.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.